There's this thing that happens a lot in movies where somebody's heart stops and then someone else has to run in with those big paddles and they put them on the chest and they yell clear and it shocks them and then it brings them back to life. And it's so cool. It only has one problem with it, and I need to talk about that in my new segment. That's not how that works at all. Defibrillators are an amazing technology, and it shows up all the time in movies and TV shows, and the weird thing is that they use them exactly backwards. Somebody's heart stops, and then they use it to restart their heart, like it's a little tiny Frankenstein machine. But flatlining is one situation where defibrillators don't work because what they do is stop your heart. What they're actually used for is when your heartbeat is irregular, when all the different parts of your heart are not working together as a team, and that's because they don't have enough zaps. So you add the zaps, it stops your heart, and then when it restarts, all the pieces work together again. It's less like jump-starting a car and a lot more like the classic tech support advice. Have you tried turning it off and turning it back on again? If you're like me and zapping somebody's heart back to life is on your bucket list, I have good news and bad news. The good news is we have defibrillators, they do work, and they don't require you to know anything. Automated external defibrillators are on the walls in public places, and the way they work is you put them on somebody's body, and then it can tell if the rhythm is the kind of situation where shocking would help. The bad news is you have to apply these pads directly to skin, so if the person who you're trying to save is hairy, you're going to need to shave them, and that's why there is a razor in most AED kits. And then you do have to be really sure that this is the right situation to use this machine, because you do not want somebody who just happened to faint to wake up to you, a stranger, shaving their body dry. There's this trope in movies, I'm sure you've seen it, where somebody puts some harmless go-to-sleep juice on a rag and holds it to another person's face, causing them to take a little nap. Is that realistic? Find out another episode of my series, That's Not How That Works at All. The sleepy juice in question is chloroform, which is similar but different from chlorophyll, which makes plants green, and chlorine, which makes it safe to swim in public pools, even though they're mostly pee. It was used for anesthesia during surgery in the 19th century, which means, medically speaking, it is slightly better than doing a shot of whiskey and biting a stick. And it can make people go nighty-night just by inhaling it, but there are two main reasons why it doesn't make sense the way it's used in movies. Number one, it's wildly dangerous. Like, it will knock people out, but will also knock them too far out, like all the way out. Like, it'll anesthetic too close to the sun, and they'll never knock back in again. So if you want to get rid of somebody from the plot, but not the earth, chloroform is a terrible choice. But the biggest issue is it's just too slow. Like, even if you had exactly the right amount on the rag and you covered the person's mouth just the right amount, it would take at least 5 minutes for them to go to sleep. I've never been in one of these situations, but I suspect by the third minute, you've lost the element of surprise. Oh, and you have to keep administering it as long as you want them to stay asleep. Oh, and you have to very carefully support the person's body so their tongue doesn't block their airway, causing them to check out early. In the movies, it's fast, easy, and safe, and anyone can do it, but in real life, it would only work if the bad guy was a professional anesthesiologist with a well-stocked lab and a careful place to put somebody who's in no particular hurry and is using it against somebody who doesn't mind that there's a wet rag held against their face for 5 minutes. If you see it used any other way, that's not how that works at all. There's this trope in movies where somebody's trying to sneak into, out of, or around a building, and they choose to travel by the Die Hard Express, the air ducts. It's very useful for plot, but it's also perfect for my new series, That's Not How That Works at All. I know from personal experience that the HVAC system is a great way for a pet hamster to escape, but as far as real people like Mr. Die Hard or Mr. Impossible, it's just not going to work out how they hoped. First, they are frequently not perfectly smooth. You're going to have ridges, there's going to be screws coming in, there's going to be pokey bits all over the place. You're going to come out looking like you crawled through a carrot peeler. Second, they are so dirty. Unless they were installed yesterday, you're going to be going through the equivalent of a water slide, but with dust. And all of that is getting packed into your fresh wounds. 3, you're going to navigate this from the inside? Sure. But most importantly, you're just too big. These things are designed to carry a light breeze, not a heavy dude. You are too wide and too weighty to climb through tubes made of thin sheet metal supported by thin straps every couple feet. Best case, you fall through the bottom. Worst case, you're stuck there forever. Instead of cruising from room to room in the ceiling highway, what would have happened is Mr. Die Hard would have gotten sliced and diced, thoroughly dusted, lost, and then dropped at the feet of Hans Gruber, which would be a pretty soft way to die. And that's because climbing through ductwork? That's not how that works at all. You're in a sticky situation, so you panic and pull the fire alarm, which causes all the sprinklers to go off in the building. It happens all the time in movies, but is it realistic? Find out in another episode of my hit series, That's Not How That Works at All. It's amazing how many problems can be solved with a little bit of rain from the sky. Like, your girls are too mean, your chicken is too little, or your weapon is too lethal. 4. But that just isn't how sprinkler systems work. Here are a few things that will not set off the sprinklers. Pulling the fire alarm, smoke, stabbing the fire alarm, needing water from the ceiling to move the plot along. Oh, but Alex, it's just a movie. Who cares? I care. I like my art to have some correlation to the earth that we all share. But also, I think you should care because the way fire sprinklers actually work is super cool and way cooler than the magical way they work in movies. Here are things that will actually set off the sprinklers. Heat, bumping them, which is why you see these stickers in a lot of hotels, and that's it. The main mechanism we use use right now is super cool. So there's pipes in the ceiling full of water, and that water can't wait to burst forth and put out a fire. The only thing holding it back is a tiny vial of red goo. When you heat things up, they expand, and if you put them in a tight little glass thing that can't expand, that thing pops. So the heat from the fire causes the red goo to expand, which causes the little plug to pop, which causes the water to pour forth and put out that fire. It's so clever. People are so interesting. Like, sometimes we're doing fascism, but other times we're like creating very clever systems for saving a lot of people's lives. The red goo things also mean only the sprinklers really close to the fire will go off, not the whole system. So they're not going to help you if your cop is in kindergarten, or your man is hollow, or if you or somebody you love has been taken. 3, because that's not how that works at all. You're being chased to the jungle, but you get to a part of the path that looks like normal sand, but when you step on it, you find out, oh no, it's not normal at all. And as it drags your body below and you feel like you're about to drown in the mud, you wonder to yourself, is this how quicksand actually works? Find out in another episode of my hit series. That's not how that works at all. Q-sand, fast dirt, the old suck pit. It was a major trope in movies in the 1960s. It's been debunked a million times, most brilliantly by the Mythbusters in 2004. But I think it's still worth talking about because it's come up in both of the last 2 movies I've watched, and also because this series is about using fake tropes to learn real things. And while that's not how quicksand works, there are lots of types of very scary mud. First, why it's not real. You're just not dense enough. Even the densest person in the world, Dr. Phil probably, he is only half as dense as quicksand, so he would sink, but only up to his waist. But if movies wanted to scare you with mud, it would not be hard to find some. Mud flats, like the one around Anchorage, Alaska, are very similar to quicksand. They can hold you down, and they're usually located near bodies of water, so they can grab your leg and not let go as the tide comes in. They cannot drown you, but on the score sheet, they'd get an assist. The Salton Sea has little mud volcanoes, and they are not actually dangerous, but they're really spooky looking, like a Halloween decoration made by the earth. Grain stored in silos can act like quicksand, and it is wildly dangerous. And what is corn but plant-based mud? And playing in the mud can be dangerous, which is what 20 people who were running in a Tough Mudder race in 2012 found out. They got C. coli infections, and I didn't even know there was a C. coli, but it turns out it's one of the top 3 colis. And that's especially terrifying because that's mud that causes you to make your own mud. Stay away from mud, but if you see it in a movie and it's not bubbling, holding you down, getting you sick, or made of corn, then you don't have to worry about it because that's not how that works at all.